The New Testament lesson for today can be found in John 15, on page 1677. Listen to what the Word of God has to say to you. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remained in his love. I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I have learned from my Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last. Then the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. This is my command: love each other. This is the word of the Lord. Thank you, God. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, may the words of my mouth and the collective meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Lord, our strength, our rock, our Redeemer. Amen. So, good morning, all you saints of the Lord. I pray that everyone is doing well. Now today, I got a good send-off, or good footing, thanks to Mr. Caller over there. I want to talk about friends. I'd be willing to go out on a limb here and say that everyone here today has at least one friend, right? How about a show of hands so I can be confirmed? How many have at least one friend? Yvonne?
Yes.
Good, thank you. What is a friend? I know we each have our own concept of what a friend is to us. If we could each come up with a list of traits that we look for or is present in the people we consider to be our friends, it would all be different. I also believe each list would be so different you would wonder if we're still talking about the same thing. There'd be many similarities, but I don't think there would be any two lists exactly the same. We all have our distinct likes and dislikes, own needs and wants. To quote Lee Iacocca, my father said, if you have 5 good friends when you die, you've had a good life. And there's an African proverb: a friend is one who knows everything about you and still wants to be your friend. So, what is a friend? And why are friends so important? As I said earlier, we would each have a different concept as to what constitutes a friend. I believe some of the common areas we could all agree on are, you give me thumbs up as I go through, okay. A friend is someone you can trust. A friend is someone you feel comfortable with. A friend is someone you can depend on. A friendship is reciprocal, give and take. A friend is someone you like spending time with. A friend is someone you share common interests with. I can keep going with this list, but I'll just stop it there. You know, in today's world of connectivity, I believe the word friend has been diminished in its value. You're my BFF. Or how many times have you heard the statement, I've been friended? Or have you heard that, I have X number of friends on Facebook? merely because someone has contacted you cyberly, someone that you don't necessarily really know, you don't really know them, does that really constitute them being recognized as a friend? Perhaps a better terminology would be, I've been acquainted. Did you know it was a survey that was taken that the most distressing thing the majority of the people questioned, and they said it was the most stressful, was being unfriended. Not finances, not relationships. The answer most heard as the number one stressor was being unfriended. And that's not even done face to face. I mention this because I believe the word friend should not be taken so lightly. In choosing friends, and I feel especially for Christians, choosing friends should not be taken so lightly. If you will recall from the Old Testament reading, Job's friend Bildad the Shuhite told him that he must have done something to lose favor with God. The things that were happening to him happened only to those who did not know God. Job was a very prosperous man, and Job loved God. Job had been blessed with many things for many years. However, Bildad did not console Job by confirming Job's lifelong devotion to God. Bildad never proposed that perhaps Job was being tested by God. He did not encourage Job to maintain the faith he had always had and stay strong, and surely God will see him through this time of trial. Bildad did not act as a friend. He acted as someone who seemed to know more about Job's distressing times than God did. I believe one must learn to choose their friends with much wisdom and without great haste. So back to the question. What is a friend? As today's New Testament lesson stated, the words of Jesus as he spoke to his disciples, telling them how his Father loved him, he had loved them. He told them to abide in his love. Jesus wanted to give them a commandment that they love one another as he had loved them. And then the definition of friend is seen through the eyes of Jesus. Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. Jesus no longer called them servants, for servants don't know what the master is doing. And Jesus called them friends because everything he had been told by his Father, he made it known to his disciples. Jesus also reminded them that they did not choose him. He chose them. And again, he commanded them to love one another. Please take note of the fact of how many times Jesus used the word love as he told his disciples about friends. Jesus knew friends were to be treasured. And like Jesus, I believe friends are to be treasured. It's not a title that should be handed out lightly. And it's not a title that should be accepted lightly. There's definitely a certain responsibility that comes with being a friend and having friends. Jesus modeled this for us to see and understand more fully. Then the other part of the question, why are friends so important? Allow me to tell you a little story. I won't make it long. All of you know that under the guidance of Reverend Dr. George Toole, the Three Amigos, as we are known in most circles, and I refuse to recognize the reference as the Three Stooges. Anyway, we meet every week, usually on Tuesday. We meet to critique the sermon that was given that Sunday. The critiques are honest, they're helpful, they're educational, they're humbling. I could go on, but it is some of the best time of the week for me. Oh, however, more than anything, they are meant to make us better. Not only do we talk about the sermon that was just delivered, but we also discuss the sermon topic for the person on deck. And at times, the sermon topic for 2 weeks out is discussed. What transpires regarding the sermons to come is nothing short of inspirational. There are 4 different minds coming up with a variety of ideas and possibilities, helping to enhance the sermon. The sharing of knowledge and thoughts is not done out of ego or hopes for personal gain. It is done out of respect, admiration, and love, with the thought of improving everyone's spiritual life here at Grove. We work as friends because we are friends. You know, Jesus surrounded himself with 11 good friends. We all know that he had chosen 12 followers, and Judas Iscariot was selected for a reason. Our omniscient Savior knew Judas's heart. Jesus knew everything. Throughout Jesus' ministry, time and time again, he told the Pharisees what they were thinking. So he knew everything. He knew Judas would betray him. That was necessary for things to happen. He chose 11 good men to follow him in order to change the world forever. And it started with an invitation of, follow me. Men left their homes, their families, their way of life, everything familiar to them, to learn from the man whose teachings were radical and viewed by many as blasphemous. The disciples were Jesus' support, his confidants. He trusted them. He laughed with them. He cried with them. He talked and they listened and learned and acted. They were his friends. You know, when you have friends, it sure makes a mission or a task, especially a difficult and a dangerous one, go a lot easier when you do it with friends. I'm quite sure many of you can attest to that. You know, I want to be more like the disciples. I want to be Jesus' friend. There was something that happened this weekend that convinced me. I went to see my brother Tony yesterday. And I told you the week prior that seems to be his scan. He's just about cancer-free after his 5th battle, but he's dealing with some pain. So he had to go in for pain medication or how they were going to treat it properly. So they got the pain under control. So when I saw him this weekend, he looks good. He's gained weight and everything, but now his body is racked with spasms. Back spasms and everything. What was the most encouraging thing about that entire thing was how he, at times, as I call him, twitch, would sit there from the spasms, moving. Sometimes when he'd walk, his legs were almost buckled. The whole time, he emphasized how much having Jesus as his friend is helping him through all of this. I wish I had that strength. That's why I said I want to be more of a friend to Jesus. I already know I am his friend, but I want to be a better friend. I want to be a stronger friend. I want to be a stronger Christian. I want to be a stronger friend to the one who laid down his life for me. How about you? Are you willing to lay down your life for our Savior? And I'm not necessarily talking about becoming a martyr and physically dying for Christ. However, are you willing to die to self for the sake of Christ? As Jesus said, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. I so dearly want to follow Christ and do whatever I can to help further God's kingdom. I start with the best of intentions, and then this worldly life gets in the way. It's hard, At least for me it is. It's really hard at times. Sometimes I feel like the rich man who asked Jesus what he must do to follow him. Jesus told him to sell all his possessions and give the money to the poor. And the rich man walked away sadly because he was a very wealthy man. It's not like I have a lot of earthly possessions. I'm not wealthy by the stretch of anyone's imagination. But I'm holding on to so many earthly things like they're real treasures. Not just the material part, but the emotional and the spiritual parts as well. I haven't given up trying. I've learned something. I do want to be a better friend to Jesus, but I also realize, for me personally, I can't just change everything overnight. I've been learning to make smaller changes, and I keep chipping away at the self part of me that needs to die in order for me to do more for Christ. Perhaps the rich man should have thought of how he could do what Christ commanded of him instead of focusing on the loss of those things that are not eternal. Well, I plan on working on myself as long as I have breath in my body. And today, as we relive the physical parable known to us as communion, do it prayerfully. Remember how Jesus calls us friend and laid down his life for us. I know I can't work on my spiritual housekeeping alone, so I'll be doing a lot of praying. I'll be in constant contact with my BFF. I will be doing this silently through email. I think I'll be doing it by what I'm going to call P-mail, prayer mail. It's a very reliable system. I always get an answer, and the only system failure I have to worry about is me. When I stop praying, that's when the system fails. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Amen. Amen.